Okay. So StreamYard is telling us we're live. So we hope that you can see us out there in Facebook and YouTube land. I've been having my struggles this week with digital technology. You name it, it's broke. I don't know. I just keep working to fix it. But welcome to Who's in Your Pit Crew. So I am super excited. I have Miss Lisa Spencer back with us today. Hi, Lisa.
Good morning.
So, Lisa has been very busy during COVID, and she has now become an author of her own book. It is called, can you see that?
Yeah, I do.
I
I
can do
want
that.
to.
Hold on one second. Oh, she does too. All right. So there you go. So real estate common sense. So Lisa, tell me the reason behind your real estate book.
Well, it truly is, as you mentioned, kind of a pandemic project. It was funny. My father was bragging to his brother, my daughter wrote a book. And his brother said, well, my son wrote a book too. And it turns out my cousin, Jeffrey Fellows, owns a financial consulting business out in California. And he wrote a great book too. So we exchanged books and we were laughing. We're like, so what does a Fellows do? That's my maiden name. When a pandemic strikes, they write a book. My grandfather was actually the editor of the Scranton Tribune. He was an attorney and the editor of the Scranton Tribune in Pennsylvania. And so writing is in our blood, and I do like to express myself that way. So when you are locked in a home with your husband, there's only so much you can do. I had to write a book.
Well, that's very good. So I actually had an opportunity to read it, and I was quite
Thank you.
excited for you.
Thank you.
There are step-by-step instructions, and I love that, this is really about taking a new agent. Am I right? It's kind of targeted there, right?
Well, here's the thing. That's why I named it Real Estate Common Sense. I've always said this as a broker. Some agents have been in the real estate business for 25 years, and some agents do their first year 25 times. And so I think there's a process in getting that common sense foundation, and some people never get it. So yes, it should be oriented towards new agents. However, I have found that I'm getting feedback from very experienced agents that are like, I wish I had had this for years. So I don't want to limit it to new agents, but of course, if someone's getting a license, I think it's a must read.
I agree with that. Very good, very well laid out. And I have to say, one of the chapters that really caught my attention was choosing your broker, right?
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about your thought process about choosing the right broker for you, because I think that you kind of have to take your needs and expectations into consideration when you're choosing that broker.
That's correct. And what I have found, I've worked with 2 different brokers in my real estate career, 12 years with Coldwell Banker, and then the last 14 years with Keller Williams. And I think there is a model for every agent, and not every model fits every agent. However, most agents go in and say, how much can I make and how much are you going to pay me? What's my split? It's the wrong conversation, because it doesn't matter how much of your money you keep if you never, 100% of zero is still zero.
How true.
What is your company or your broker going to do to support you as you launch your career? And that's why I didn't know how else to express it. So I would love your feedback, but I did the charts. Like, this is provided by my broker. So it's apples and oranges sometimes, right? If you have certain things provided by your broker, especially leads, if that's what you're looking for in the beginning, then that's worth something. And then if you are very confident in your own lead generation, then why would you want to work with a broker that charges for leads?
Yeah. And you have a nice chart in there that really does kind of make you think, right? And you have it broke down on what is my broker doing for me? What should I be doing? What would I like to do in the future? So Yeah, so you really did do a great job of like making you think. I feel, and I've seen this so many times, and I'd like to hear your opinion because I know you've worked with thousands of agents, onboarding them and helping them to start their real estate careers. So, what do you think the biggest misnomer is when a real estate agent comes on, and what is it that they perceive the job itself to be, the career itself to be?
Well, I think that is the first mistake, or the biggest mistake that people make, is they think they got a job and they are actually launching a business. And just like Florida building inspectors, you have to do marketing, you have to make connections, and you have to provide a really good product in order for people to continue to use your business. Well, our product is our service. So if you're coming into the real estate business with a history of parents who've been in the business, like I did, I came from a real estate family.
Right.
I don't know that I needed someone to explain the basics. What I found is that people come into our business. Some of the people that struggle the most are people that have been salespeople in other careers. We have found that nurses and teachers make fabulous realtors because they're so service oriented.
Right.
And so it's having that attitude that I'm launching a business, but that business is in service to others.
Ah, I like that. That wasn't in your book.
Well, in a way it is, I think.
I know, but you need to take these little quotes for your next one, right?
There you go.
As you're talking. In the book, you actually talk about prospecting, right?
Yes.
So what have you found in your own personal experience to be your most two effective ways to prospect? And the rest of them, you'll have to get a book to actually see what those other options are. But what did you find in your own business was your
Well,
two?
I actually put them in kind of like an old David Letterman top 10 list, right? So it went from my least favorite and what I feel was least productive for me to my absolute favorite. So my number one lead generation source, and I have the waistline to prove it, is never eat lunch alone. I felt that that was the most significant thing I did to build my career, is that I always either had lunch with a more experienced agent, so I'm either learning and I'm building my skill, or I had lunch with someone I'd like to connect with as a partner in helping build my business. I loved to partner with local businesses. And then, of course, my second is my sphere of influence. And I think sphere of influence is so overused today that people almost don't even understand what that means, because people will just dump names into a database and call it their sphere of influence. That is not it. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's who do you have influence with? So I jokingly say in the book, thanks, Mom. And yet some of the agents I have worked over the years, their mom has actually recommended another realtor. How bad is that? When you are not even making it clear to your family that you are the best realtor to help them.
And I love that in the book. I'm going to share one thing that I actually read. Your first call once you get licensed is to your mother to explain that she's going to come across somebody that's going to need help as a real estate agent, or with it from a real estate agent. I thought that was priceless. And I thought, your mother, why would you say that? That just makes sense with what you just said. Your family doesn't know what you're doing, right?
Not necessarily. And they might know what you're doing, but they don't understand how to refer to you. So that's the critical thing in sphere of influence. That's why I list them, but then I also give some scripts for people to use, because what people don't understand is if you don't ask people to work with you or let them know that you're available to work with them, they might think, A, you're too busy. I can't tell you how many top luxury agents have come into me and lamented that a friend of theirs listed their $400,000 house and did not call them, and they're completely offended. But they're like, they spent their whole time building an image that I'm only luxury. Well, if they're only luxury, people get that message and they feel like, well, my home really isn't luxury. So I won't call them, I'll call someone else. So I think if I was a luxury agent and if I was specializing in that and marketing that, I would make sure my sphere of influence, my friends, knew that even if I'm not going to take your listing, I have a partner that doesn't specialize in luxury, and then you'd at least get a referral streamline, right? So it's just interesting. We have to have that communication, and we'll never know unless we ask.
I can honestly tell you that that's huge. You must ask, right? Rachel from St. Pete, she and I were talking, and she's like, I hope you're asking for their business. And I thought, well, I'm pretty bold and brazen. And so I don't know that that's always the way I wrap up conversations, but she certainly made me stop and think.
Right.
So one of the other things that you talk about is Smarty.
Yes. Yeah.
So just on a very high, quick touch, tell me what Smarty is.
Well, we've always heard of SMART business plans, and anyone who's ever gone to a business planning clinic will tell you it has to be SMART, which is specific, measurable, attainable. I think relative or relevant. I struggle with which it should be, relative or relevant, and then time bound, and that's SMART. And I added yours because one of the things that was really compelling me to write this book is that real estate careers are not one size fits all. I have a great story about an agent that I worked with who was 90 years old the last time I saw her working in real estate. And that was probably 8 years ago. So God only knows if Flora is still out there. God love her. She literally had a chauffeur that took her to her showings because she was no longer able to drive. She still had a viable $5 million a year real estate career because her sons were both judges in our town. Her husband was a judge for years in our town. She was highly connected to a very affluent market. And so it was not unexpected that a chauffeur would drive them to the homes that they're going to look at. And so she only sold 4 or 5 houses a year, but she had a $5 or $6 million a year production. So it's not one size fits all. We can all have a wonderful career. What are you designing for yourself? And a young mother is not going to have the same time frame and the same availability as someone who's single and able to dedicate more time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you're out there and you have any questions for Lisa, you can put them in the comments. And not only that, but I just want to know, how many of you agents want the limousine to pick you and your client up to take you on a showing? I'm raising my hand. I think that's pretty cool, Lisa. I never heard that story before.
Yeah, she was awesome.
In the book, you talk about budget and marketing.
Yes.
So tell me why it's so important to have a budget for your marketing, and you must do marketing.
Yeah, so this was really something that I have seen go wrong for so many agents. They swipe their credit card for the magic bullet that's going to just pour leads into their business. And they end up leaving the business discouraged and in debt. And so I always say, let's pace ourselves with our marketing budget. And again, I don't know if I expressed it as well as I could have, because again, I wrote it quickly in a pandemic, right? But I think I expressed it this way, that many agents try to use marketing to pull the universe into them. They just do this shotgun, throw it out there and just pull in and see what I can pull into my business.
Right.
And I think absolutely the opposite is true. If you think of it as, here I am in the universe, and here's where I can help, and here's where I can influence, and here's where I can be assistance to others. It's kind of like the rings of water that grow when you drop a pebble. And so when someone's going to send postcards, for instance, I think they're pretty much still effective, and a lot of people are using them. And, of course, Keller Williams does a great job with Command. You can send like 160 postcards for $90. It's ridiculous, mailed. So and it's not just Keller Williams. There are other companies, I'm sure, that have discounted collateral. And so that postcard, yes, should go to the area around your new listing. That's what we call circle prospecting, or letting the neighbors know. And the thing that people miss is every person in their sphere of influence should also be getting that card. So I think that's a key thing that even experienced agents picked up from the book, that called me and told me, they're like, what? I never thought of that. Why didn't I do that? Because you want the people that you already know and love and respect, you want them to see from the mailbox to their garbage can, because literally that's pretty much all we have with a postcard, right? I'm going to walk from the mailbox, look at it, and dump it in the trash when I get in my house, which is the sad part about it. But, those 30 seconds that we have from that walk from the mailbox to the house, I want them to say, there goes Lisa again, selling another house. It's just like, once you've sold one home, I never say a just sold on a post. I would never name a postcard just sold after I've sold one. After the first one, it's another home sold, another home sold, another home sold. You're sending a message that you're a busy, productive, successful realtor.
I like that. I like that. I can tell you, I have lived in my house. I'm not your typical average Joe. I've lived in my house now for 22 years, I believe. And for the first time in 22 years, I had an agent actually knock on my door with be telling me that she had an open house. I've never had that happen before.
Good for her.
I was like, wow. Of course, I looked like, it was Saturday morning. I wasn't quite ready to receive anybody, but it was nice to see that somebody was doing that. All right. So if those of you who know Lisa, you all know there is always homework. So Lisa, talk to me a little bit about where the idea came from of putting the homework in the book.
Well, I actually have to give that credit to Chris Thompson, an agent that I have supported and watched grow over the years. He has such a thriving business and he's such a true professional. And he was one of the trusted people I gave my manuscript to before I sent it to print. And he came back and he said, you should incorporate somehow in your book, better to have a diamond with a flaw than a perfect pebble. And that's a Chinese proverb that he said, his opinion was I needed to somehow get agents into action, and that sometimes agents will work so hard or think about something that they never get into action. And so it was really his inspiration that I said, I'm going to call them diamond assignments in honor of that Chinese proverb that, it's better to just go do it. And it's going to be a diamond with a flaw, but it'll be a diamond. If you just sit here polishing your pebble, you're going to have something worth nothing. A diamond with a flaw still has value. So yes, your first listing appointment is not going to be as polished as your 50th, but you can't start at your 50th appointment. You have to start at your first one.
You have to get your knees bruised, right?
Exactly. And yeah. I had 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels when I started my career, and they have great expressive faces, even though they don't understand English. I'm sure of it. They speak dog, but they were very attentive. They would sit there as I did my listing presentation to them. They seemed very interested, and I was sure they would list their house. So people get so caught up in having that first appointment and thinking about that first appointment. Rehearse it, do it. Do it for your family, do it for your friends, do it for your dogs, do it for your cat. I really don't care, but don't practice on the consumer. The consumer deserves performance, not practice.
I like that too. And, it's interesting. I do feel that a lot of reason for failure in the real estate industry is because they don't pull the trigger. Like they just want to keep collecting the data, making sure they've got it all perfect before they actually launch. Like there's so much to a transaction. Just going through it the first time is just it's overwhelming, but that's how you learn. I'm a doer, right? I would have to do the transaction in order to see what you taught me in a classroom, what I went through to get my license. I would have to be able to go through the process to actually see the application working. So
exactly. And this is where you brought up in the beginning about selecting a broker.
yeah.
I think that's really where it's key. Do you have mentorship? Do you have training? Do you have any kind of support in building your confidence? I mean, real estate, and of course, I don't know if we're going to get to this, how I conclude the book, so I'll wait. But the reality is that you definitely have to go do it. And again, the consumer deserves performance, but the real estate market is so dynamic that if you wait to learn everything about it as it is today, a week from now, it's completely changed. So you wasted your time anyway. Yeah. Just go and bring the information that your broker provides, that the Florida Association of Realtor provides, that our local Greater Tampa Association of Realtor provides. There is so much support out there. You've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah. I agree with that. So it is an education, becoming a real estate agent. You probably would, if you got it through a college, have at least a master's degree by the time you're all said and done. So Lisa, I will let you talk about how you wrapped up the book. So go ahead.
Well, one of my first introductions when I was a training director and teaching our launch course called Ignite, my first day, I would say real estate is about confidence and competence. And competence without confidence is not going to work. You can have all the competence in the world and you're going to be the best kept secret in Tampa Bay. But if you have, it's better to be that than to have confidence without competence, because that's the definition of a jerk.
I would agree with that. So,
so don't be a jerk is basically how I end the book.
Yes, I did. I saw that. So, anything else about your book?
Well, it's been fun to write. I learned a lot about publishing. It is published on Amazon.com. You can find it on Amazon at Real Estate Common Sense. You can also order it so this was something I didn't include. I don't know how much time you have if you need to move.
You're fine. You've got about 7 minutes, so keep talking.
Perfect. So one of the things that was really the hardest part about the book was pricing it and to really determine, what is this worth? So I really wanted to, as I speak in the book about the success of a real estate career, is about forming a community of support where you're supporting others and others are supporting you. That's really the key to real estate success. Who is, just like the title of who's in your pit crew, who's in your community. So you can build that community large and wide, like some of our fabulous mega agents in the area, or you can have a community that's small and intimate and tightly knit and supports each other. That's up to you, but you're building a community. And so I wanted to apply that to what I was doing with Real Estate Common Sense. So there is a support website. You have to use the www because it is a Google site that I created myself. It's not so fancy, but I wanted to have full control over it. So it's www.realestatecommonssense.com. It has a lot in the appendix of the book. You're going to see a lot of charts and checklists, and those charts and checklists need to be customized. First of all, we should have started with this. Your broker has all the right in the world to determine how you're going to do business within their brokerage. So everything in the book has lots of disclaimers about please consult your broker, because in the state of Florida and in most other states, you work under the direction and supervision of a broker. So this book should never supersede that direction or supervision. And that's why everything in here is customizable. If you go to the website, you can simply download a Word document and make it adjusted to what your broker requires. And it would be a great conversation for you to have with your broker. Do you require this or not require this? I think it's a pretty comprehensive checklist. So I wanted to have a support community in that respect. And then we also have a weekly, we call it afternoon team. And it was actually designed after afternoon tea. And Dusty, you've attended it a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
But afternoon team is a place where agents can come and bring their challenges of the week. And then we usually have a topic. This week, we're going to talk about having a social media calendar, because a lot of us go on Facebook, Instagram, even make videos for YouTube, but we kind of do it as the mood hits us, or as the spirit hits us, or as the listing happens. And so what does it look like to actually have scheduled posts that then we can just fill in with personal posts, but the graphs and infographics that we can find so readily in our support with Florida Realtors and National Association of Realtors, get those plugged in ahead of time to make our social media really robust and make us be a resource for our real estate community.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. It's a new feature on Canva. Are you familiar with Canva?
Yes.
They just implemented a social media calendar, so you can literally build out your post prior and schedule them, and they go out automatically for you. So you're sitting at home on a rainy Sunday afternoon, or you're sitting in an open house and no one's showing up. You can sit there and literally plug in your social media calendar for an entire month.
Absolutely.
So nice little feature that they added in.
Yep.
So, I would like to thank you for coming in and talking about your book. I'm super excited for you. I think it has a lot of great information in it. So honestly, pull up your book, Lisa.
Oh, okay.
All right. You want to go buy this book. It's on Amazon.com, Real Estate Common Sense, right?
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that.
If you need any further interpretation, Lisa's always available. Her information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You can also find her on her consulting website. So subscribe at Lisa Spencer Consulting. And she's always there. I know that you have helped so many people launch businesses and become better agents. I wish you the best. And
thank you, Dusty.
Yep. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.